aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. Today we are going to continue our book study of the mystery book read. Some call it the handbook for the new paradigm. So by this point you should have your copy, and if so, follow along. I believe that we are on number 35 or something like that. We'll find out here very shortly. Alright, so hopefully you've got your highlighter and your note-taking stuff ready. Let's begin. Peace, 11 people here, 11 likes. Let's keep that energy. Let's keep that energy. Peace and greetings to everyone present. Pablo X69, peace, peace, peace. Matthew Watson, peace, my brother. J Baldale, peace and greetings. J Baldale says, and the synchronicities right now are next level. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. AZW, peace, my fellow cyclomate. Hakeem Lamidi, peace, fellow cyclomate. Let's get into this handbook. Anna Molly, peace and greetings. One of my favorite people. Sunshine Chick, always great to see you. Hope you're having a good evening. Janae Owo, peace and greetings. Let's do this thing. Let's do this thing. Oh good, I've got my bookmark in the right place. We're almost done, you see that? Look at how much we've covered. Look how much we've got left. Fascinating stuff. Number 35, that's what it is. Number 35. Alright, so we're about to get percolating as soon as I can get the book to stay in place. It's a little small, but in this case, it's not the size that matters. It barely fits, but we'll make it work, right? All right. Treinticinco. How's the audio? It's not messed up, is it? Everything's clear and copacetic? Maxwell Alali, peace. All right, I got a couple thumbs up. Looks like the audio is good. So shit, we can dig right in, dive right in. Who knows how far we'll get? But let's see, we're gonna go for probably about 2 to 3 hours, maybe 3 hours. Maxwell Alali says, my brother in Christ. No, I get it. I got it. Listen, I'm a psychic, all right? I see through typos. You ever been doing this work, like the cyclomancy work or anything of that nature, and really sit down and realize the synchronicities, the premonitions, the sensitivity to the changes of nature? And you ever sit back and realize, holy shit, I actually am a psychic? Of course, it's not at all what they depicted on TV or the movies, but I really am doing this thing. You ever like have that moment of clarity while just like sitting in meditation or looking in the mirror? I am him. You ever get that? Well, I did just yesterday. It's pretty cool. J Baldale says, lately my holy shit levels is off the charts. I'm telling you, man, something has been percolating. Maybe it's the book, maybe it's the books, but I think that it's just that time. And these books and these studies right now are symbolic and representative of what time it is right now. That's what I think. That's just how I feel. All right. Well, unicorn coffee is brewed, and I'm ready to go. Starlion, peace and greetings. ACW says everything is aligned as hell. Everything's as aligned as heaven, too. Well, let's get into it. I'm mixing the Fruity Pebbles with the Fruit Loops, you feel me? You know it's a good day. So, number 35. It is interesting from our perspective to see that you are busily building a reservoir of energy that is standing in stagnation. There's a growing number of people aware of the Paradigm Project, but few, if any, have sat down to play at composing what might be their personal idea of a statement of purpose. It is as though you must wait until you meet in some type of formal meeting to accomplish anything. Where's the personal responsibility in that response? It would seem to me that bringing your personally defined idea along with what it would seem to me that bringing your personally defined idea along with you would bring different level of intent to a meeting to define a purpose. It was hoped that this would be a natural outcome of the suggestion that you begin this process for your own salvation. Do not assume that your ground crew status will be enough. You are in third dimensional experience and are governed by it, the same as all other inhabitants of the planet Earth, of the Earth planet. If personal responsibility is the keynote, then operate within it, especially with regard to the project if you hope to achieve its purpose. We are finding it difficult from the perspective of our experience to comprehend just how difficult it is for you to experience within the vibrational level of Earth. The combination of planned lowering techniques being applied to all aspects of earthly existence is inevitably lowering the vibration in measurable calibrations. It is the concerted efforts of the multiple techniques that are accomplishing this. In other words, it's not just one thing, it's a bunch of things that are all stacking up, hitting you from multiple angles. The critical mass of humans now within the control of these combined techniques will soon be reached. It is important for you to have the understanding that the critical mass point needed for evil intent is different than it is for intent of upliftment. This cannot be calculated in simple percentages, for the degree of evolvement of each soul and its extensions must be considered in this calculation. As the vibratory rate descends, the critical mass point ascends, while the opposite is true from our point of view. I like that line. As the vibratory rate descends, the critical mass point ascends, while the opposite is true from our point of view. Lowering the vibratory rate is much more difficult than raising it. A simple realization can cause a jump in vibratory rate. So why don't we just trigger a big planetary realization and fix the whole thing? Why don't we just trigger a big planetary realization and fix the whole thing? As the vibratory rate lowers, the brain synapses become more and more difficult. Also, the use of the sugar substitute such as equal is slowly destroying the ability of the brain to function as it destroys the nerve endings. Someone recently sent me this meme of an experiment done with mice, and they have this pool of water, this little bowl of water or whatever, a bucket maybe, and a little island that can be climbed upon. And they drop the mice into the water, and a mouse on a regular diet is dropped into that water, and it easily swims and finds safety in the middle of that little island. But a mouse that they fed pretty much the equivalent of a McDonald's diet is so confused and scattered, it takes almost, I think it was 9 times longer to find the island than the healthy mouse. And I think the point of the study was that a terrible diet filled with sugar and these saturated fats, I guess, and all these other processed quote unquote foods literally destroys the brain's ability to function over time, of course. So, what did he say here? Also, the use of the sugar substitute, such as equal, is slowly destroying the ability of the brain to function as it destroys the nerve endings. It can and does cross the blood brain barrier. Further, low fat, high sugar bearing carbohydrate diets are starving the brain cells. All of this is part of the plan. Remember, they understand the functions of the physical body well enough to be able to develop techniques to weaken the connection of the being to its vibratory source in hopes that it can be broken at their moment of choosing. May we stress that you think carefully about this information and that you read your labels and take personal responsibility in the care of the bodily functions necessary to participate in this project. Beyond that which was mentioned in this message and the previous one, the remaining critical factor is the pH level of your body and your blood. Remember when the whole alkaline diet, alkaline water thing was super popular? Perhaps there was actually some truth to that. I went through my phase of buying nothing but alkaline water. I guess it helped. I don't know. MC Maestro, peace. Peace, Aldin. Aldin says, for me personally, this is the most magical book written in the last 30 years. Outside NLP, of course. I miss my NLP study. I'm really thinking that I'd love to put together a group for each specific subject, like maybe a small group for NLP, a group for like traditional magic stuff, demons and rituals, and also a group for psychic ability. If I can manage all that, that's certainly what I'd like to do this year. Mr. West, peace and greetings. WVT, peace, peace. So we got a whole lot more than 11 people here now. Let's go ahead and hit that like button if you like this content. So, if you're serious about wanting to return to higher dimensional experience, then you are required to master the third dimension, and the completion of this project is recommended as your ticket. Let me read that again. If you are serious about wanting to return to higher dimensional experience, then you are required to master the third dimension, and the completion of this project is recommended as your ticket. Personal responsibility is being responsible for your personal expression of this. Personal responsibility is being responsible for your personal expression of this life experience, starting with your body temple. To do that now, you will need to think independently of what is being tooted in your media and by the medical community. Even most alternative professionals are versed in less than holistic understanding and offer only partial assistance with their expensive products. Massage is a pleasant interlude, but is not a replacement for the personal responsibility of regular, gentle exercise. MC Maestro says, sounds like you need to work with some solar energy to manage all these tasks. That's a good tip. That's a good tip. Thanks for that. I think I will move in that direction. Are we lecturing you? What is offered is in way of guidance. If you take it in any other way, then you are reacting through the distorted ego function. Big facts, right? Are we lecturing you? What is offered is in way of guidance. If you take it in any other way, then you are reacting through the distorted ego function. It depends on whether you can act rather than intellectualize. Interesting, right? What have we been reading? Hell, just last night with Dion Fortune, and also what's in Taught with Shuti and Samkhya Darshan, and in the Cosmic Doctrine. They're saying that there's a certain level of understanding and experience that goes beyond the intellect, right? We talked just last night, if you were here for last night's live stream, that these veils, right? Doth, the veil of Paraketh, veil of Maya, the barrier of Laya, all these different veils are not actually on the cosmic map. Those veils belong to the mind. Those veils exist in the mind, not out in space. So in other words, Doth is not out there somewhere. The veil of Maya is not out there somewhere. The veil of Paraketh is not out there somewhere. The barrier of Laya, the firmament, these different veils are not out there somewhere. They are barriers that exist within the mind and within the human experience. So in order to transcend those barriers, you've got to transcend your process of thought and thinking. You got to transcend how you exist. Check. Check. Those of you who are artists, whether it's music or painting or poetry or whatever you do, dance, you know the difference between trying to force a creation into existence based on intellect, trying to think your way into it, versus intuitively feeling and allowing the creative process to flow. That's a different process of being, right? Maybe you forced a creation out of pure intellect, and maybe your skills came through, but it was dry in comparison to what you created out of pure heart. There's a difference. Kyle the God, peace, peace. Let's keep going. Like, I remember when I made music, one of my most fun things to do was, like, I would listen to the beat, and, like, the lyrics came through the melody first. Like, I'd be humming along or maybe, like, mumbling the melody, and then from that, I would fill in that melody with actual words. So I didn't sit there and write lyrics first and then listen to a beat and try to force it onto the beat. No, I let the music cause it to give birth within my spirit. Right? Or even like when you look at a blank canvas, you can try to force it or you can go with the flow. You know what I mean? That's why I said people who are artists and creators. You know what I mean? So it depends on whether you can act rather than intellectualize. And you know that goes along with magic as well. How many of you all remember the days where it was like, I got a feeling to do this specific thing, like something's telling me to, I don't know, go lay a food offering outside in the tree in the backyard. But then you're thinking about what you read in a book. Oh, you're not supposed to do that because technically da-da-da-da-da, right? What happens when you follow your intuition? You go down a rabbit hole that leads you to where you've been trying to go. Look at that. Supremacy McCoy says, as an artist, that shit works effectively so much, so we now have mumble rap. Right? And people love it. And people absolutely love it. I'm not gonna lie, some of it sounds pretty cool. Not much of it, but, you know, some of it. J Baldhale says, just had another holy shit. Let's go, man. MC Maestro says, yeah, going along with intuition is the best path. Agreed, my friend. The ego has been distorted so that it loves to pontificate and to excuse so that personal responsibility can be avoided. Ain't that the truth? The ego has been distorted so that it loves to pontificate and to excuse so that personal responsibility can be avoided. Everybody does that. It is so much easier to talk that to do when changing established patterns are involved. I think that's a typo. It is so much easier to talk than to do when changing established patterns are involved. I remember when that clicked for me. I used to be a person who had all kinds of big ideas and big dreams, and like I'd always tell people about them, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna do this. But like most of those things I never did. And then some of those people who heard me talk would just be like, yeah, yeah, whatever. And it kind of hurt my feelings after a while because it's like, wow, these people don't believe in me. But then I had to take responsibility and realize, well, I keep giving everybody all these big ideas and never do any of them. Maybe it's not them. Maybe it's the fact that I don't follow through and I've established a pattern of blowing smoke. So what I learned to do was keep most of those ideas to myself, if not all of them, and only talk about the ones that I've already initiated, that are already in progress. That way, it develops a different track record. MC Maestro says, rules has trauma attached. That's why love and light say to do something new. And chaos magic says to break the sacred. Yeah. Yeah. So it is so much easier to talk than to do when changing established patterns are involved. It can be overcome by ignoring it and placing the focus beyond the chaos of change and instead to visualize the end result. That's always the answer. Visualize the end result. Picture bypass. Pictures, it should be, oh, two typos. Pictures bypass the intellectualizing process. That ain't new to us, is it? Pictures bypass the intellectualization process. In order to come up with a statement of purpose, the parenting groups must spend personal time visualizing, dreaming, what each can conceive through imagination, going within the mind of God, and then attempting to put it into concise wording. The process can begin with words, then mental movies, then words again, etc. This would bring into practice purposeful meditation, a wonderful tool of higher dimensions. I believe it has been referred to as becoming that which you desire. Those known as shamans and oracles use this technique and walk in two worlds. There are nuances of the universal laws that serve the intended purpose of experiencing your way back to the source of all. By the way, he's giving you the method right now. Like, this is how you do it. We're no longer just talking about and describing. He's literally giving you the very simple process of what to do next. Starlion says Neville Goddard calls it the end scene. Funny how they all echo these timeless truths. A lot of people talk about Neville Goddard, right? That is, that's diet occult. It works because he's associated with the same group of people that I read books from. Apollo Soul is just showing me that Neville Goddard was actually, was corresponding with Israel Regardie. They knew each other personally, and they talked about each other. In fact, Neville Goddard has certain chapters in certain books that are named after maxims of the Golden Dawn. So yeah, absolutely. Back in those days of Neville Goddard and those folks in the early 1900s, that's where New Thought came from. New Thought is diet occult. The New Thought, the New Age movement, all that good stuff. These were people who were influenced by societies like the Golden Dawn, but they went out and created content for the average person to consume. You're thinking you grow rich, right? All that stuff. But you know me, I like to stick to the origins if I can get to it. Do load a ruler, peace. Starline says Neville Goddard calls it the end scene. Funny how they all echo these timeless truths. Supremacy McCoy says got to recourse back to the source. MC Maestro says the New Thought movement was the American branch of the occult movement. The Golden Dawn was the British and the colonies. Blavatsky was Russia and Eastern Europe. Hell yeah. Right? And see how important it is to know that instead of just floating through the internet, picking up random stuff here and there and pretending that you understand it all. This all traces back to specific origin points. MC Maestro says each school was built for the dharma of the respective areas. I wonder why it is I'm so attracted to the European branch then. Aldin says Neville Goddard had a teacher who taught him a Kabbalistic interpretation of the Bible. And of course, let's not forget Manly P. Hall. I guess he'd represent the Masonic side of the American branch. So let me go back, because like I said, he's giving you the steps of what to do. Don't let this just kind of go in one ear and out the other. Let this go into your head as a seed and let it grow, because this is what you do. This right here is what you do. He says, it depends on whether you can act rather than intellectualize. The ego has been distorted so that it loves to pontificate, right? And you know what pontificate means. Talking big words, as you know, we'll see the theoretical, hypothetical, disputable, consequential, you know, all that yip yap, the yap lord stuff. That's what pontificate means, yap lord. The ego has been distorted so that it loves to pontificate and to excuse, so that personal responsibility can be avoided. It is so much easier to talk than to do when changing established patterns are involved. It can be overcome by ignoring it and placing the focus beyond the chaos of change and instead to visualize the end result. Pictures bypass the intellectualizing process. In order to come up with a statement of purpose, the parenting groups must spend personal time visualizing or dreaming what each can conceive through imagination or going within the mind of God, and then attempting to put it into concise wording. The process can begin with words, then mental movies, then words again, etc. This would bring into practice purposeful meditation. Purposeful meditation, a wonderful tool of higher dimensions. That's a technique and a technology of higher dimensions. It's not something that you have to punish yourself to do. Oh, I don't want to sit down and do nothing all day. That's a waste of time. No, that's a tool and a technique of higher dimensions. That girl said to me, I'm too busy to meditate. I don't have time to just sit here and waste sitting still. Purposeful meditation, a wonderful tool of higher dimensions. I believe it has been referred to as becoming that which you desire. Those known as shamans and oracles use this technique and walk into worlds. How many of y'all are walking in two worlds at this point? How many of y'all are walking in two worlds at this point? There are nuances of the universal laws that serve the intended purpose of experiencing your way back to the source of all. Shamans and oracles walk in two worlds. It is an adventure offering challenge and joy far beyond third-dimensional physical challenges. These leave the empty feelings that one's feel can only be filled with more challenging experiences that bring the same frustrating results of emptiness. These leave the empty feelings that one's feel can only be fulfilled with more challenging experiences that bring the same frustrating results of emptiness. The paths of learning are blocked, and mankind on Earth is left chasing its non-existent tail and is being led in a downward spiral. Continuing in our focus of accepting personal responsibility, it is important to consider another aspect. The ideal of personal responsibility is perceived as being heavy on the responsibility aspect. It would serve humanity better if the accent were on the personal aspect. Again, Personal has been distorted to assume the meaning of selfishness, which is translated from the deliberate focus of denying that one can create independence and must take what is needed from someone else. The bankers on your planet illustrate this law of the proposed negative system and carry out this concept to the extreme. This group is not only visualizing their planned result, but are living it now. This increases the available energy required for their plan to move forward. Are you peeping game? Are you paying attention? Right? Look, the bankers on your planet illustrate this law of the proposed negative system and carry out this concept to the extreme. This group is not only visualizing their planned result, but are living it now. And what does that do? This increases the available energy required for their plan to move forward. Imagine wanting the knowledge, and then you wake up one day and it's literally in your face, and you don't recognize it. Your Bible has a statement within it that reads something like, "The rain falls on the just and the unjust." How do you feel about that? The rain refers to the universal laws working within the focus of either polarity. You are programmed to think that the negative pole is always bad. Within the context of the whole, this is not true. There is no electricity energy moving without both poles. It is distorted use beyond the norms of balance that are at issue in this instance. Personal has the true meaning of the harmonious expression of the fragment of creator energy expressing radiantly by continuing the flow of expansive energy into whatever dimension it is within. The word was devised within the focus of the referral to the fragments as the family of God, per son all. You see that? There's a synchronicity right there. Per son all. Son. Peace, natural mystic. Lyrical miracles with cereal. Personal. Again, the masculine reference because it is within the perception of expansiveness being a masculine aspect. In other words, personal responsibility reflects the willingness to be a flow of expansive energy within the realm of your pattern of experience. With the cycle of energy surrounding you, moving in an opposite directional flow, you must swim upstream, so to speak, to accomplish what you intend. Hopefully, these messages will provide a convenient rock on which you can stand above this flow in order to get your equilibrium, gain strength through resolve, and then start to gather the rocks necessary to build a dam to divert the flow in a new direction. Yours is a holy project, reflecting the holistic nature of how it all works. Within your sequential focus, it must come together piece by piece, but it may not, in true reality, work that way. This is why it is so important that you trust the process, especially when you think things are not working as they should be. Just do your part, and all will come into place. Trust. Trust. And wasn't that a big part of the collective tarot reading that I gave the other day? How it's now high time for you to trust the forces that you are working with, like faith style, leaning into that faith aspect. Because if you're not trusting the forces that you're working with, Why the hell are you working with them, number one? And number two, what do you expect to get in a relationship where trust is limited? What do you expect to get out of that? Each and every one of you have chosen to be here right now. And each and every one of you have the support of unseen forces. Remember that book, Unseen Forces by Manly P. Hall? Each of you has the support of unseen forces, and it's time to trust those forces. Lean into the faith. Maestro says, I am one with the force. The force is one with me. It was a good mantra for me in high school. MC Maestro says, the part of us attracted to the occult were thought forms and elementals around those magicians. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Most definitely see that. I think some of those thought forms are urging me to check out some of Mather's work. I was doing some bibliomancy and Mathers kept popping up. Aldin says, Manly P. Hall got me out of conspiracy theory and into truth. He has a great way with reaching the beginner, yet his teachings are full of advanced wisdom as well. Absolutely, absolutely. Rainwater, peace. Amon Ra Central says, target. Yee, how many of y'all read chapter 12 of Tatwa Shuddhi? That's a good question. How many people actually went through and read chapter 12 of Tatwa Shuddhi already? Sunshine Chick says, me. Hell yeah. I'm telling you, it's something in there for you. I already done read it multiple times, but there's something in there for you. That's why I'm suggesting that you check it out, especially if you're present for this particular mystery book study. Mystery. Sensational. Maestro says, Bram Stoker popped up for me. Never checked out his Golden Dawn work. I've been meaning to watch that old school Dracula movie where he's got that red robe and his hair's in those two buns. I've been meaning to go back and watch that. Minosis, peace. Minosis says, haven't read chapter 12 yet, but I did tap into Mystical Kabbalah chapter 5. Okay. Deep stuff in both of those chapters for sure. All right, let's keep going. Number 36. Number 36. Let us continue with these messages for a few more sessions. These pertain to the parenting phase of Project New Paradigm. The ball then is in your court for action. Either you pick up the ball and move into actually doing the conception of the babe, or not. Certainly, we have been making every effort to encourage your participation. If it is necessary for the pebble to be dropped at the next level, you are going to have an interesting ride on Spaceship Earth. This is a further wake-up call. The snooze bar is reaching the end of its program. If you are reading this information, you are part of the ground crew and need only realize it is time to drop your disguise and begin your mission. The flight crew cannot land until the field is ready and the invitation is issued. As suggested before, Begin formulating and dreaming scenarios within your own personal awareness. This triggers the resonance of the law of attraction. In the beginning, there was the thought, and the thought became flesh. Are you hearing this? Nuru, peace. Are you hearing this, right? We have a tendency to listen to stuff like this and watch things like this and read things like this and think that it applies to somebody else. But homie's talking directly to you and me, of course, but I know that. I want to make sure that you understand the gravity of this here. Everything that has been talked about so far applies to you. You are present for this particular material because you are one of the extremely few, one of the small percentage of human beings who is capable of doing this work. Who's capable of doing this work. Everybody does not have the capacity to do this, but you do. So if you're hearing this, it is time to begin the process. I hope you understand that. This is not entertainment here. Sure, it may be entertaining, and the feeling of synchronicity might be very stimulating. But this is a call to action for you specifically, listening. Let me read it again. If it is necessary for the pebble to be dropped at the next level, you're going to have an interesting ride on Spaceship Earth. This is a further wake-up call. The snooze bar is reaching the end of its program. If you are reading this information, you are a part of the ground crew and need only realize it is time to drop your disguise and begin your mission. The flight crew cannot land until the field is ready and the invitation is issued. As suggested before, begin formulating and dreaming scenarios within your own personal awareness. This triggers the resonance of the law of attraction. In the beginning there was the thought, and the thought became flesh. Lucky Hoodoo Jason, peace. It is a matter of bringing the information shared previously into a cohesive understanding that allows you to operate within the appropriate process. Since the paradigm can only be brought forth within a holographic format that resonates in harmony with the wholeness of creation, it would seem logical that you must understand the basic parameters required, ensuring success. Since the paradigm can only be brought forth within a holographic format that resonates in harmony with the wholeness of creation, it would seem logical that you must understand the basic parameters required, ensuring success. Since this involves feeding this information to you in bits that can be pondered and assimilated, it ends up spread over many pages. You are then left to combine the bits into a composite that formulates a sensible basis for moving into the creative process with confidence. That's a key part why it's so important to actually finish these books, because there are gems that are kind of scattered that must be put together. The subconscious mind does that. Seeds. It will be necessary for you to assume the study mode and reread these lessons in order to bring forth your own understanding and to formulate your personal foundation. There are nuances of the laws that will blossom into your awareness through the study assimilation process. It would be convenient for you if we would simply provide you with an outline, right? But that would not allow the flowering process to be reached as an end result. It is nice to receive a bouquet and simply enjoy the beauty and the fragrance, but the growth process would be skipped. You catch that analogy? You catch that analogy? So it's one thing for you to actually take the seeds and plant them and water them and go through the process of growing them, that's one thing. It's a whole nother thing to receive a bouquet that's already been grown and trimmed and watered, and you just receive it and, oh, it's nice and pretty. You can enjoy it, but it's not going to be the same experience as actually growing and developing these things yourself. It is nice to receive a bouquet and simply enjoy the beauty and fragrance, but the growth process would be skipped. It is necessary that you grow your understanding. The handbook of the new paradigm is a precious treasure given to you so that you may step into your radiant stance of service and fulfill your chosen destiny in the history of planet Earth. Through this suggested process, the burden of responsibility will transcend into the pure joy of bringing enlightenment to a world of darkness. Within the holographic process is the element of maintaining the focus to enable manifestation to complete its intended cycle. Check. Within the holographic process is the element of maintaining the focus, Dharana, to enable manifestation to complete its intended cycle. If you need help with focus and how to use it as a technology, go check out that book that I mention all the time called Dharana Darshan. Dharana literally means concentrated focus, in English, of course. The focus of thought is maintained for long periods of time, again staying within your reckoning mode, by setting the vibratory oscillations within a range that emanates sound. Oh, he's getting Vedic. He's getting metaphysical here. The focus of thought is maintained for long periods of time by setting the vibratory oscillations within a range that emanates sound. This is duplicated in crude form by your music. In purity, it can be grasped as being of a crystalline bell-like quality. Tibetan bells give you an inkling of the reverberations that continue for long periods of time, beyond what the human ear can hear. Within a holographic context, a continuous vibration is set forth in an over-unity mode, carrying forth the expansive paradigm. Each holographic creation is unique, reminiscent of your snowflakes. There is present within each galaxy a continuous melody of bell-like sounds, which is perceived in part by some and referred to as the music of the spheres, which is a perfect description. Yummy. Reminds me of what the Vedic information says about the level of Aum. Earth is at the moment quite out of tune. Contemplate the resonance of the crystalline music of the spheres, and then think of punk rock. That might be thought of as the resonant sound of the planned new galaxy. Would you want to live there all the time? Perfect resonance is attained through balance. This is the reason that rock music is so destructive to the balance of the young people. It is designed to be unbalanced and discordant in its basic construction. It reflects outward the inner imbalance of its composers, and it enhances chaotic tendencies within the psyche of those spending long and frequent time listening to it. Oh yeah, I know all about that. The bridge for this phase from romantic, sexually stimulating music was the Beatles. Their early music contained melodies with a lesser amount of distortion, as is demonstrated by the orchestral versions. It did, however, open the door for the more destructive distortion that inevitably followed. Again, all part of the plan to slow and hold down the human vibration. If only this guy could hear what is being pumped out today. You think rock music was destructive to human culture? Shit. Somebody send this guy some sexy red. Out of town, thugging with my rounds. 555 West Coast. Don't get me wrong. I was a huge fan of like metal and hardcore and all that good stuff. I only say was because I don't listen to it anymore, but I can certainly say I think I loved it because it matched a certain feeling that I had within myself. The booty meat song. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? I love it for what it was and what it did for me. I just don't it's not really something I want to listen to these days. I mean, shit, you hear what I listen to these days. Bow bow, that's the booty meat. Booty meat. Alright, let's keep going. MC Maestro says the low vibrations help incarnate some higher entities. Yeah, it's definitely going to be leading to some incarnation of new entities. But the problem is, judging by those parents, there's a high chance of being groomed for that dead end lifestyle. Let's keep going. Again, all part of the plan to slow and hold down the human vibration. In order for you to conceptualize a higher dimensional experience, it is necessary that you have some understanding of the experience of it from the creational perspective. Remember last night how I was talking about in order to understand one particular dimension of existence, you have to rise up to the dimension that created it? I love it. I love it. MC Maestro says, if I can make it out, they can too. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So in order for you to conceptualize a higher dimensional experience, it is necessary that you have some understanding of the experience of it from the creational perspective. I remember before doing meditations on Doth and some of the beyond areas, and although what I received was amazing, mind-blowing, visions that I wished I could see in a movie because they were so cool, I noticed that they weren't very useful or appropriate. There's a lot of things that you can see in meditation that don't really do anything other than excite and entertain you. So I think for a long time, I marked off and scratched off those type of outer visions as a waste of time. But now I'm realizing that when they're put into the right context, they can be very helpful. So many of those outer visions do become useful when you apply it to them, the context of knowing that those outer visions contain the seed and the DNA for our current reality. You get what I'm saying? So a lot of the chaos and the weird, random, alien stuff that we get from these higher dimensional meditations, what you're seeing is the world that created this one. So when put in that context, it can be very helpful to dive into the Clipoth or to dive into the outer visions of Doth. But, of course, you've got to be at a certain level of understanding to do that. Tracy Kramer says, Jesus Christ, not another channel like this. Satan, save me from this monkey shit, please. Well, it's going to take a lot of work to save yourself from yourself, Tracy. You are the monkey shit. Monkey see. Monkey doo-doo. Holographic interaction is basic to this understanding. Current methodology to produce this phenomenon involves a beam of light focused through a transparency that produces a floating dimensional replica. In an existing holograph, you conceive a thought of a desire to be reproduced in a holographic mode. This thought thinking, you, focuses by enlarging this thought with details that further define the holographic desire and increases the energy of the beam like thought with emotions of what the experience of enjoying this new holograph will be like, therefore empowering it to come into form. Let me go back because that was very wordy, very wordy. Oh, the response is just oh. Listen close and try to break this down. I'm on Rouse Intro. Let me pull on that big old book you got. Heard about that book you got. No. Willie James Huff. All right, listen. In order for you to conceptualize a higher dimensional experience, it is necessary that you have some understanding of the experience of it from the creational perspective. Holographic interaction is basic to this understanding, right? Follow so far? Current methodology to produce this phenomenon involves a beam of light focused through a transparency that produces a floating dimensional replica. He's talking about the technology of how we create holograms, right? How is it done? Literally, current methodology to produce this phenomenon, holographic stuff, involves a beam of light focused through a transparency that produces a floating dimensional replica. That's how we do holograms. In an existing holograph, you conceive a thought of a desire to be reproduced in like holographic mode. In other words, he described how science and technology does holographs, but guess what? You are a holograph as well, and this is how you reproduce the inner world into the outer world. It's the same way, but you're not using a beam of light and some glass. You're using the mind, consciousness. In an existing holograph, you conceive a thought of a desire to be reproduced in like holographic mode, right? Follow so far? This thought thinking you focuses by enlarging this thought. How do you enlarge the thought? Check this out, really cool. With details that further define the holographic desire. Think about visualization, right? And what do I talk about? Can you see it? Can you hear it? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? You're adding details to the hologram, right? This is how you expand the image. And this works. This simply works. Look, this thought thinking you focuses by enlarging this thought with details that further define the holographic desire and increases the energy of the beam-like thought with emotions of what the experience of enjoying this new holograph will be like, therefore empowering it to come into form. So, as you focus on this thought, as you flesh it out with vision details and audio details and kinesthetic data, by doing that, you're now giving yourself more data to build this image and thereby creating more emotion and emotional response behind it. He is literally telling you how magic works without it being spooky, right? Even Karen in the chat can get this. Even Karen bot can understand this. Or the Bobby Hemmett say, breaking this down to a Schlitz malt liquor level. Even if you're high, you can get this shit. Even if you're high, you can get this shit. I hope you're listening. I looked around, ain't too many places you're gonna get this kind of data. Ain't too many places you go get this kind of data. Showing them who was the high now. Pimp, nasty, funky pimp, and stanky chicken. Star Lion says, damn, you breaking this down like good weed. I'm gonna have to use that one. I'm breaking this shit down like good weed. You understand me? You feel me? You heard? Seriously though, if you have this book, I need you to make sure that you add this paragraph to your toolkit. You don't need any other book of techniques. This is literally what you have to do. That's it. That's it. All right, so look, let's keep going. You call the holographic concept 3D or third dimensional. That's what you call the holographic concept. How then is the fourth dimension different? Ooh, let's get into it. How then is the fourth dimensional different? 3D encompasses the conception of height, width, and depth, but involves no motion within the holograph of its own volition. Uh-oh. 3D movies include dimensional glasses. Virtual reality is also a manipulation. You ever watch 3D videos on your Oculus or your VR headset? You're not moving. The next step into fourth dimensional experience superimposes the living or vibratory dimension of action within the purview of the holograph itself. A true holograph is projected through thought, not by a mechanism. Since thought has the power to act upon itself with further thought, it is self-aware. The higher the degree of self-awareness implies a higher vibratory rate or dimension of experience. The seeds of one dimension are planted within the lesser one. Check it out. A true holograph is projected through thought, not by a mechanism. Since thought has the power to act upon itself with further thought, it is self-aware. The higher the degree of self-awareness implies a higher vibratory rate or dimension of experience, or dimension of experience, or dimension of experience. The seeds of one dimension are planted within the lesser one. A lot of talk about one dimension plants the seeds to create another dimension within itself. The same way that we've got, virtual reality and computerized reality. That is a product, that's a dimension in itself, but it was created in this reality that we live in. Likewise, the reality that we live in was created on an even higher one. So to truly understand what virtual reality is, you got to understand the science behind it and what created it, right? You can go get a degree in that. Or hell, you can watch enough YouTube videos and play around and start to figure it out. Likewise, when you start to understand the etheric plane and how it works, the astral plane and how it works, you can start to master the 3D in ways that you might not thought were possible. Now, that doesn't mean that you automatically become a millionaire. That doesn't mean that you automatically become anything, really. It just means that you now have the knowledge to move better, right? Well, if you know all this about magic, how come you're not rich? How come you don't have a Lamborghini? How come you're not dating a supermodel? Just because you want those things don't mean everybody want them things. Well, if you know magic, then why don't you send me $5,000? Well, what's that have to do with magic at all? Anyways, let's continue. Let me highlight that because that's a good one as well. The higher the degree of self-awareness implies a higher vibratory rate of dimension or experience. The seeds of one dimension, and we talked about these universal seeds last night. The seeds of one dimension are planted within the lesser one. This brings you to the understanding that you are already aware of being self-aware. However, this seed must be nurtured and cultivated in order to flower into transcending to a point of outgrowing its present placement through increasing its vibratory rate until it is... Nope. However, this seed must be nurtured and cultivated in order to flower into transcending to a point of outgrowing its present placement through increasing its vibratory rate until it lifts itself into a dimensional shift, allowing for greater opportunity to grow even more self-aware. That's what we're trying to do here, to grow into a even higher state of self-awareness, right? Self-awareness. What is this thing that all of y'all say? Oh, well, it's really me. All these spirits is really just me. God is really me. It's all me. Okay, that's true, but do you understand what that means, right? So to be self-aware means that you truly recognize and realize what that means when you say that it's all me or it's all you. To become more self-aware. It starts with mastering body language, right? You start from the bottom on up. Are you self-aware of your body language even, right? Are you still out in public, digging up your nose real deep, scratching your ass and whatnot? A lot of those behaviors are automatic and they escape the awareness of the individual. So becoming self-aware of your body language means that you become aware of, maybe when, not even become aware of you doing that, but having the urge that causes you to do that. And you're able to deal with the urge before it results in an action. And that doesn't just go for picking your nose or scratching your ass in public. That also goes with emotional outbursts, or maybe saying things before thinking them, right? Self-awareness of the body first, and self-awareness of the emotions, and self-awareness of your thoughts, and you expand, you gradually expand. And see, Maestro says, using your imagination to create your own mental metaverse with physical world correspondence. Yes, your own augmented reality, right? So, yeah, into a dimensional shift, allowing for greater opportunity to grow even more self-aware. What you are attempting to do is to cause this process to manifest on a planetary scale, because Earth's vibratory environment is so distorted that individuals can no longer accomplish it. Just as Moses had to cross the Red Sea at the exact moment of a planetary shift, this is timed at the exact moment of a galactic shift. How will you know? That is our job. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. See, this session is chock full, fat full, bursting burrito with everything on it. Somebody give me a burrito emoji. I'll probably get hungry soon. Nobody want to go to jail in Mexico. They put all kind of burritos in you. As usual, you are being reminded that unless you create a plug and pull it, some other backup plan will be employed that will bypass the opportunity for humanity to clean up their own act and use it as a stepping stone for advancement. Has pie, peace, and greetings. Fresh out the oil. Greasy to the max. Hot and greasy. Y'all ain't blocked Jacob I'm in yet? He in here spitting gibberish. I'll do it. So, as usual, you are being reminded that unless you create a plug and pull it, some other backup plan will be employed that will bypass the opportunity for humanity to clean up their own act and use it as a stepping stone for advancement. We continue to stress the power that you hold in the palm of your hands. It is such a gift to be in the position of assisting this planet and its inhabitants into a shift of such major proportion, and it carries with it an opportunity for literally jumping up the vibratory scale. We can only bring the opportunity to your attention and act in an advisory capacity. You must be the ones to do it. This is not the first time you have participated in similar roles. This is the mission you have literally trained yourself to take part in, so don't drop the ball now. There is nothing more important in your current realm of experience. Man. It's the final countdown. Oh, the final countdown. Nice. Shout out to the donut pattern PJs. Ran out of shit to say. Catherine Cruz says, ja 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 ja. All right, number 37. We're on a roll. I wonder how far we'll get. It's not even about getting far, man. This is already dropping some heavy gems. I'm already starting to get that feeling again that, we're being directly communicated with some entities of a specific purpose. Oh boy. That's the correspondence, right? See, I use smells and tastes to get me into certain states. That's why I'm always talking about my Lucky Charms. Not Lucky Charms, but Fruit Loops. Not even Fruit Loops. Fruity Pebbles. I got Fruit Loops on the mind today. But these help me to lock into specific states of mind. It's an easy way to bypass your own resistance when you do that. So try it out. Number 37. Progress is being made within the hearts and minds of those who are reading these messages. By progress, we mean there is a shift within the consciousness that is reflected within the holographic activity that is you. In other words, the thought that each of you are is thinking and acting within itself. Your psychologist, psychiatrist would say there is a shift in the data stored within your subconscious. Oh, it's percolating. It's percolating. Your psychologists and psychiatrists would say that there is a shift in the data stored within your subconscious. The prayer given previously, I am a human becoming, help me to become, is powerful enough that simply reading it and considering it in a positive attitude begins the shift. Say that to yourself in your subconscious warehouse. I am a human becoming. Help me to become. The victim attitude is deeply ingrained within humanity as a whole. It shuts down the light of each child as soon as it is absorbed from the parental attitude. With the realization that victimhood is a falsehood and an ideal to be released, the holographic pattern immediately begins to brighten. Use it as a mantra, especially when encountering situations that have in the past triggered what has been referred to as giving away your power. These can be encounters with other people or life situations resulting from inappropriate decisions. The prayer wording allows a shift in attitude that reflects the intention of taking back that power. As it is practiced on a small scale within each individual life, then it becomes a tiny grain of sand in the mass consciousness that grows as others receive and begin to use this simple thought in their daily lives. Peace, Kevros, SS God. It might be appropriate to define mantra. It is a short series of sounds or words that bring about balance within what you call the subconscious awareness. Those of you who read chapter 12, right, know all about this, chapter 12 of Tatwashuddhi. A mantra, it is a short series of sounds or words that brings about balance within what you call subconscious awareness. Often the sounds are from ancient languages that are not consciously understood, but resonate at the DNA RNA level of the body, bringing about change in an outward flowing manner. The mantra, as currently used, is often an intuitive decision on the part of one person assigning it to another. Frequently, the appropriate combination is not given, and years of repetition bring little, if any, change. Some choose on their own with the same result. The use of the simple prayer, I am a human being, help me to become, guarantees results. Patchwork Peace. Patrick says, what page are we on? We're on page 178, moving on to 179. Oh, yeah. I am a human becoming. Help me to become. This guarantees results. The most benefit is gained not by setting aside a period and using continuous repetition, but by single statements made in connection with conscious recognition of thoughts, encounters, or situations that are bring forth your victim response. Remembering and thinking it several times during the day is also very helpful. You each have victim responses, and there are no exceptions. You simply deny you do in order to deny that you give away your power to an ego that does not exist. Denial is the shield of the empowered ego that fosters victimhood as a result. And isn't that true? Right? The victim mentality is deeply ingrained, especially in our culture, right? That's why it's so difficult for people to take accountability, because we've been taught that the best way to be is to realize that you're a victim and it's not your fault. I mean, it can be a sensitive, slippery slope, but ultimately when it comes to progress and growth, there's got to be a level of, okay, what do I do from here? Where do I go from here? Right? We can't do anything about the past. But to perpetuate a victim mentality moving forward, that's a choice, right? You have the choice to direct the flow of your life from this moment forward. Does that make sense? Or does that sound cold and detached? You tell me. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Tell me if it ain't good enough for you, babe. Tell me. This prayer will end the deification of the ego. Ego is function, not a false god personality. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. The number one false god is the falsely enthroned ego that you have been programmed to struggle against. That's the number one false god right there. Not some demonic image that you find on a Google search. It's the ego. That is the number one. Because for anything else to activate within your life, it's got to go through the ego first. That's the gatekeeper. A number of commonly used quotes are appropriate. That which you resist persists. That which you fear shall come upon you, etc. You have been programmed to turn everywhere but inward in self-contemplation. That results in self-empowerment that in turn flows outward into expansive expression. Right? So you have been programmed to turn everywhere but inward in self-contemplation that results in self-empowerment that in turn flows outward into expansive expression. Right? Instead of going into meditation and self-contemplation, we'd rather just buy a crystal or burn some type of bundle of plants or do a ching-ching money tree and think that that alone will solve our problems, or at least make us feel good for the moment. Self-contemplation is not sitting and staring at your navel wondering who, what, and where am I? It is practicing the use of the universal laws and contemplating the results of these applications in experience for the purpose of self-enlightenment. Each experience is a pebble in the pond of your life. Your not-so-friendly perpetrators have added other layers of programming very effectively. You must not look inward or empower the self, because that is selfish. You are then guilty if you consider empowering the self, because it is then implied that you will use the power to overcome others. You see all that programming there? This results in a distortion through misinterpretation early in childhood as each attempt to establish their innate tendencies to follow what gives them joy into greater expression. The distortion spreads into countless intermingling and interacting complicated behavior patterns that pass from one generation to another, generational curses. The simple use of the prayer mantra frequently within group family situations by the participating members would bring dramatic changes. The wide use of it wisely would have phenomenal results. The point of this segment of information is not as a sermon, but instead to illustrate how a statement of simplicity and appeal can bring forth change in a way that resolves and literally dissolves intermingled and interrelated distorted patterns of experience. If you doubt this, use the small prayer and observe what happens. The more you use it appropriately, wisely, the greater demonstration you will observe. Following the first few remembered uses of it, you will find yourself using it silently in situations as simple as being irritated because the waitress is slow. It changes your experience, which in turn changes hers. You see how that works? Ace in the place, peace and greetings. It changes your experience, which in turn changes hers. There will be big irritations that will slip by, and later, when remembered, that are the most appropriate times to say it with meaning, with emotion. It works. MC Maestro says, accidentally scrolled and the next stream was tarot. I think the new algorithm operates off of genre. I think so. Because every now and then someone would pop in and actually stick around. I mean, I do get subscribers from the way that this new algorithm is working, so yeah, it makes sense that it would be off of genre. The worst that I'm getting from this is a couple of typo-wielding trolls, and I'm not complaining. It would seem that this series of messages could perhaps have been condensed down into a few simple statements that would be as effective as the small prayer. Perhaps, but would you have heard them? In observing human tendencies, especially ones with media overwhelm and information clutter, it is a matter of chipping away at the established patterns of the read and toss syndrome. Most who have awakened to the reality of the situation surrounding you are avid readers and listeners with this syndrome deeply patterned. The media overwhelm consists of constant repetition, plainly presented and supported by subliminal keywords and phrases. This places a shield of resistance at the subconscious level that then accepts the subliminal messages like arrows penetrating a target. These messages have had to slowly penetrate this shield using repetition and realizations of truth. As our arrows penetrate shield and cause places in the shield to open, that the messages could be absorbed in the rereading of edited version. Greater clarity and conciseness of particular true statements should augment this opening process. This doesn't indicate that your shield attempting to protect you from media barrage is weakened. Instead, it is strengthened. The greater realization of the bigger picture of both aspects your surrounding situation allows for conscious shifting of all the information you are inputting. The realizations of truth and your sincere commitment to the project have rearranged the content of the subconscious in a way similar to programs used so computer files can be rearranged, allowing the disk space to be used in its most efficient configuration. Jeez Louise. Let's go back, because that's a lot of words. Greater clarity and conciseness of particular true statements should augment this opening process. This doesn't indicate that your shield attempting to protect you from the media barrage is weakened. Instead, it is strengthened. The greater realization of the bigger picture of both aspects your surrounding situation allows for conscious shifting of all the information you are inputting. The realizations of truth and your sincere commitment to the project have rearranged the content of the subconscious in a way similar to programs used so computer files can be rearranged, allowing the disk space to be used in its most efficient configuration. This will be reflected in your life experiences. There may be some confusion, especially during your sleep patterns, as this reconfiguration of your subconscious actually happens. For the more self-aware, it will be more pronounced and, for a time, even troublesome. This process will allow you to absorb the important contents of the messages into a format at both levels of consciousness. It is like entering two interacting programs on a computer, something like Word overlaying Windows, both contributing to a greater practical application available to the user. How well it works depends on how well the user learns and applies its available unique applications. This is an apt analogy for careful consideration by serious users intending to take advantage of the opportunity to shortcut older methods of grubbing it out. Y'all all right? Y'all all right? Am I all right? For sure. Peace, Framestar Films. All right, cool. Doing good. All right, so I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get a refill, and I'll be right back. Don't touch that dial. Coffee brewing. What have you learned so far? What have you learned so far? The name of the book is right here. All right, let's see. Kevin Wise, peace, brother, peace. Ace says, you've been on almost daily lately. Be sure to rest. Thank you. I will. Pretty sure I will. Gotta get it out while the energy's hot. All right, good to go. Good to go. Let us continue with number 38. MC Maestro says, what was the book about the Vedic verses in the Bible? Maybe you can give me a little bit more. MC Maestro says it had a dude with the beard and it was in black and white. What was that? Beard and it was black. Well, that sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't think I fully know what you're referring to. Okay, Sunshine Chick says trust. Yes. Animali says yes, trust for sure. Personal responsibility. Get past the ego to grow. Tap in more, how to tap in more efficiently. Less intellectualizing, more vision and intuition. Absolutely. Maestro, you might have to send me a message. It's like I kind of see it, but also I don't. You'll have to send me a message. Let's keep going with number 38. There are many levels involved in the process of bringing forth the accelerated change in the consciousness of Earth inhabitants' planetary awareness. The focus of the mass consciousness at the individual level is outward in contemplation of each one's environment. The deliberate teaching that the Creator is a personality somewhere beyond the sky and the heavens, making arbitrary judgments about which of the victim's prayers deserves answering, is a picture of the structure inherent within the abhorrent plans being carried out all around you. It is constrictive in its focus, the opposite of expansive creation that maintains itself through an over-unity mode, meaning the flow brings forth an exponential increase of energy beyond what is focused into manifestation. This results through the inverse movement of the self-contemplative focus, which is within the intentional manifestation, or the action of the second universal law. It can again be likened to there being two sides to a coin. Through the intention of creating and manifesting, there is the result of the manifestation, and then the contemplation or experiencing of this process, which is the self, contemplating as it experiences. Study and practice, study and practice. This involves the five senses, ego observation, and the contemplative thought process. The Indriyas, Ahamkara, and Buddhi. This involves the five senses, ego observation, and the contemplative thought process. Ideally, all this moves through the individual life experience in a flow. This is not to say that each individual would always create positive experiences. However, if the process was understood at the subconscious level, then the effects of an inappropriately caused experience would be contemplated. Through the necessary adjustments of attitude and intention, through the necessary adjustments of attitude and intention, a lesson would be learned and the overall experience pattern continued with little trauma, greater wisdom gained, and further upliftment of the energy vibration. Through consideration of the ideal, it is easy to conclude that the planned reversal of this flow to create an opposite inclusive flow would end in something like your scientist's theory of the black hole. Absorbing all available energies into a compacted mass. Why then have these planners not figured out the greater picture of the inevitable end of their endeavor? The enthroned ego with an addiction to power and control is seldom able to perceive logically. That's why power comes before a fall. That's why pride comes before a fall. The enthroned ego with an addiction to power and control is seldom able to perceive logically. You perceive this type of distortion as insanity because of an individual's inability to follow the logical norm of the societal group. Sometimes it is because the creative thought process is far beyond the societal norm, and sometimes it is ruled by distorted ability to perceive. This is both genetic and learned behavior through controlled indoctrination interchanged between the present generation and those following. The particular group holding our interest promotes longevity and positively believes in reincarnation. Each of the hierarchy are programmed at birth through magical methods that they are a reincarnation through a long line of predecessors, all committed to this project. Each generation is then perceived as being further empowered than the last. In this way, their project has continued on for what you experience as eons of time toward this important, pivotal point. Let me run that back. The particular group holding our interest promotes longevity and positively believes in reincarnation. Each of the hierarchy are programmed at birth through magical methods, some kind of NLP possibly, that they are a reincarnation through a long line of predecessors, all committed to this project. Think about the pharaohs and royal families for that matter. Each generation is then perceived as being further empowered than the last. In this way, their project has continued on for what you experience as eons of time toward this important pivotal point. This project, which deviates so far from the acceptable norm, has come into form through the use of the first two laws of the universe: attraction and focused intention. However, it is not possible for them to move out of the flow of expansive energy in a relaxed mode. The law of allowance is ignored. The only way for balance to be maintained is through rigid control of all aspects by planning and executing every detail to dovetail within their overall plan. Deviations are detected as quickly as possible, and all haste is taken to remedy the situation by any means possible in the belief that the end justifies the means. This overview of the pattern of their plan does not indicate that it is any less formidable. Earth and its inhabitants are firmly within the grip of its influence, and the situation must be intentionally resolved. It is beyond the point that containment would be appropriate while the inhabitants figure their role out. The control being exerted outweighs the possibility of this taking place without focused assistance. The focused assistance is manifesting into the heart of their game in the form of Project New Paradigm, with its multifaceted application of all four laws. You must contemplate the inside-out process concurrent with the outside-in process through the nuances of previously explained facets of creative flow to arrive at a picture of the game board. You will then be able to choose intelligently to join the play or not. The play will be interesting to follow. One focus of the play will be intense and controlled, giving forth an aura of determined restraint, planning, and examining every move. The other, relaxed, allowing each play to be drawn through the wisdom of thought thinking, resulting in calm game moves, each flowing into the next in an expansive mode. The adversary considers that each play represents a shift necessary before another play can be conceptualized and focused into manifestation within the application supplied by the use of two universal laws as a self-governing factor. The balance as perceived by them is established control. The balance as perceived by them is established control. Since their focus is restricted to using only two laws, using the third law in an opposite mode makes the fourth impossible to attain. In other words, within our analogy, they are playing with only half a deck. There are slang references to insanity as playing with only half a deck, quite appropriate. There have been frequent uses of analogies within these messages. Each illustrates the understanding of two areas: the reintroduction of the universal laws and an overview of the game strategies in simple terms. We have attempted to add dimension to those understandings within succeeding messages. As you assemble these bits of information into blocks of understanding, you enhance your ability to contribute to the project. Commitment and resolve garner confidence in your day-to-day experience as you attract opportunities to participate. This releases the need to react toward the programmed individuals caught up in the negative focus and brings allowance into your experience. You know how the game is being played and can now perceive that you have the choice to participate intelligently, resulting in a new sense of balance through purpose. Through returning to a familiar, expansive expression, Your sense of well-being becomes magnetic and radiant. You are beginning the transcendent process. Excellent. Commitment and resolve garner confidence in your day-to-day experience as you attract opportunities to participate. The creative process takes advantage of every opportunity to continue its expansive mode. Your heart welcomes this wondrous opportunity and adds the dimension of emotion to the thinking level, bringing forth outward dimensional expansion. This is how it works. This is how it works. Number 39. There was a time that mankind experiencing on this planet brought all into balance. It was an experience that set what you might term the ideal into the consciousness at the planetary level. This then established the ability to recognize imbalance and allow for the desire to return to that ideal. This realization of what is and is not balanced experience comes from deep within the awareness. This singularity of focus is the controlling factor, allowing the planet to remain within the orbital pattern of the solar system. What is perceived as gravity as it relates to the magnetism of the planet does not apply to the planets as they orbit within the solar system. This is a higher application of the law of attraction, or like being attracted to like. When there is similar criteria involved in the creative focus that brings a system into manifestation, that similarity is the basis for remaining within the field of focus. What is perceived as gravity as it relates to the magnetism of the planet does not apply to the planets as they orbit within the solar system. This is a higher application of the law of attraction, or like being attracted to like. When there is similar criteria involved in the creative focus that brings a system into manifestation, that similarity is the basis for remaining within the field of focus. I see. When there's similar criteria involved in the creative focus. And also think about, of course, what was being said in the cosmic doctrine about these certain atoms that stick together in groups of 3s, 7s, 9s. Pretty cool. Inasmuch as there is a natural over-unity flow of energy accumulated, the system continues to expand and additional planets are formed. The process involved is not the one. Oh my. Look at that. Inasmuch as there is a natural over-unity flow of energy accumulated, the system continues to expand and additional planets are formed. Makes me think about how the ancient cosmology only regarded planets up to Saturn, like Saturn being the last planet. The Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Interesting, right? When there are similar criteria involved in the creative focus that brings a system into manifestation, that similarity is the basis for remaining within the field of focus. Oops, excuse me. Inasmuch as there is a natural over-unity flow of energy accumulated, the system continues to expand and additional planets are formed. The process involved is not the point, only that you grasp the understanding that your scientists cannot understand what is at the basis of manifested creation without understanding the basic laws of the universe and the principle of thought, thinking, and acting upon itself independent of control. Once this basis is accepted, then the door to understanding is opened. It was never meant for man to gaze in wonder at what surrounds him, but that he should understand. I agree with that. It was never meant for man to gaze and wonder at what surrounds him, but that he should understand. The human brain is but a radio receiver that is capable of tuning into the flow of knowledge, ever present in the creative flow. The magnetic field surrounding each of you is like an antenna, but your acquired belief systems cause you to unplug from the universal station and instead plug only into the sensual environment. The spiritual aspect of the human, the God aspect of self-awareness, is unknown to you through the stressed importance of material manifestation and the distorted influence of your religions. The adventure you search in vain to find is found in exploring the journey of the spirit that you are into manifested experience and in finding its every expansive return trip. This explains why each goal is attained is never enough. This explains why each goal attained is never enough, and more must be attempted or lapse into discouragement and plan instead for a trip to the city of golden streets to take up playing the harp on a local cloud. Framestar Films says, if the theory is wrong, the practice will never be right. Hence why it's so important to develop your energetic institution and learn how to recognize energetic patterns. Pay careful attention always. If the theory is wrong, the practice will never be right. I heard that. The magnetic field surrounding each of you is like an antenna, but your acquired belief systems cause you to unplug from the universal station and instead plug only into the 5-sense environment. Humanity, as it knows itself on planet Earth at this moment, is experiencing a degree of utter frustration that is incredible indeed. This can be compared to a balloon filling at an exponential rate towards the explosive point. The master planners of control are watching for this bursting point and planning its expansion with what they believe to be great care. However, just as balloons from the same package burst at different air pressure levels, neither can they be sure what the exact bursting point may be. It is a matter of how this released energy is directed that is the important point. Will it be as they choose? Or can it be self-directed by the mass consciousness of the awareness inside that bubble? Sheesh, I just got a vision of that. I mean, really, if you look at it, doesn't it seem like the things that are presented to us in our media could be designed to push us to somewhat of a breaking point, emotionally or, just experientially? Stress, depression, a sense of meaninglessness and hopelessness. Doesn't it seem like a lot of what's being given to us almost feels intentionally to be pushing us in that direction? But imagine if you could take that same bursting point, approaching that bursting point, and channel it into a specific direction. Matthew Watson says your etheric catalysis meditation is great for that. Hell yeah. Anna Molly says trying to push burnout and apathy. Yeah. Let's continue. The master planners of control are watching for this bursting point and planning its expansion with what they believe to be great care. However, just as balloons from the same package burst at different air pressure levels, neither can they be sure what the exact bursting point may be. It is a matter of how this released energy is directed that is the important point. Will it be as they choose, or can it be self-directed by the mass consciousness of the awareness inside that bubble? Could the energy within the bubble be redirected from frustration to creation and deflate the balloon? They have no contingency plan to deal with these possibilities. It only requires one small hole in the dike to destroy the dam. It only requires one small hole in the dike to destroy the dam. Several or even many small holes ensure and speed the process. Why not one big explosion? Allowing weak points to expand is within the expansive flow of creation, while deliberate destruction is not. Considering possibilities within your own life experience is self-contemplation, again within the expansive flow of experience. Think about that so far, right? So what if you are feeling that anxiety, that stress, that burnout, that depression? What if you're feeling this growing sense of dread? Like, what if you're sensing a bursting point on the way, right? If you don't know what else to do, of course, you're going to feel helpless until it actually happens, knowing that you're going to snap. Sure. Or what if you found ways to kind of begin the process of deflating that steam, right? What if you actually looked into the practice of general meditation, right? Or some type of gratitude practice, or some way to allow for some of that pressure to be slowly released. And with that being said, that process of gradual release, not only does it let some of that pressure and anxiety out, you're also learning ways to prevent yourself from getting to that point ever again. Yeah, I can see it now. Think about that on a societal level. Most everybody doesn't know how to deal with their stress because no one has taught us how to do that. But what if there began to appear more and more ways for people to release this anxiety in a healthy way and start to gradually learn how to heal themselves? This pressure could then be redirected, channeled into something empowering instead of something destructive. I can see it. I can certainly see it. Patchwork says, gotta be careful with what you watch and consume. Facts. That's a big start, right? Because as long as we continue to feed it to our conscious, the subconscious mind keeps it in rotation. Keeps it in rotation. I mean, how many of us all have different memes and different video clips and sound bites bouncing through our heads at random moments? Nuru says, keep in mind you are and are in a self-generating consciousness, not a bursting balloon, which has a breaking point. Your consciousness had to beginning and has no end. Has no beginning and has no end. Don't take analogies too far. Indeed, indeed. Sobering realization. Your consciousness has no beginning and has no end. Considering possibilities within your own life experience is self-contemplation, again within the expansive flow of experience. Is the focus of applying the law of attraction and deliberate manifestation of the opportunity for the weaknesses in their plans to expand include the destruction of the ones who would enslave or end your earthly experience by their choice? It is suggested to consciously withdraw participation by focusing instead on an entirely different creation project that will simply transcend the planned disaster. This would leave the perpetrators holding the bag and experiencing the other side of the coin, as fits into the experience of the law of attraction through their own use of it. This would be a wonderful demonstration of the universal laws in concept and application. The conceptualization of the simple changes in how a situation is perceived and using a change of focus of intention, applying the universal laws that have brought forth the wholeness of manifested reality, is a big stretch of your understanding of how things really are. When you reread this material, ask for the spiritual aspect, the source of your manifestation into this life experience, to give you discernment. Ask to know if this material contains truth, and what are the applications of these truths that will serve you, your fellow inhabitants, and the planet. It is your right to know if this is guidance or trash. Ask, and it shall be given unto you. This statement was not given to bring you material things directly, but that you might receive knowledge, information, to be experienced into wisdom. It is appropriate to continue to paraphrase, right? Ask and it shall be given unto you. Unto those much will be given, and much will be expected. When understanding is given, you are expected to apply the laws and to live within them in ever-expanding application and further understanding. Ignorance is no excuse before the law. The law works whether you understand them or not. Intelligent, intentional application is the best bet for an adventure that will keep you delightfully occupied, depending on your ability to overview your own experiences and see them in context. Attitude does determine your altitude. Thank you, Patchwork. Thank you for your donation. Patrick says, the more you entertain something, the more you give consent to it manifesting into your life. Hazard Pie says, I found the author Louise Hay's books, especially You Can Heal Your Life, helped me with anxiety and self-doubt. Anamali says, yeah, there's a lot of urban homesteading and solar punk ethos about that. Replace the system before it collapses type stuff. Framestar Film says, we trade our hours for a handful of bills, as Mr. Morrison once sang. So how about we try reframing our relationship to both time and money? It's a good suggestion. We trade our hours for a handful of bills. Nice, nice. There are many puzzle pieces within these lessons that will be assembled by each serious endeavor to do so. Amazingly, these completed puzzles will each be a unique piece that will fit into the puzzle at the next level. You exist within a dimensional whole. Even the pieces are dimensional rather than flat. A necessary shift is how you conceptualize. A necessary shift in how you conceptualize is available as a stepping stone for greater understanding. When you add dimension and life, which is thought thinking, to the game board, it lights up. Through your imagination, you can begin to perceive movement within flow. Nothing is lifeless or stagnant. Every quark, atom, and molecule is pulsing with thought and movement. Nothing is truly flat or solid. You cannot walk through walls in your manifested body at the density of 68 megahertz or less. This should not be a mystery. When your brain vibration is 90 megahertz or less, you are unable to tune your radio-like brain to the universal flow and receive the keys to the mysteries of galactic intentional focus. The possibilities of adventures leading to these experiences are encompassed within these lessons. Not all is directly presented, for much is there to be contemplated, and greater understanding brought forth through personal unique processes. Within the Creator's flow, all uniqueness is divergent and cohesive. Two sides of the coin, or should that be a visualization of something that is dimensional rather than flat, incorporating the polarities through expression and experience for the purpose of returning to balance and adventuring forth again. The practice of discernment is an inclusive nuance of self-contemplation of experience for the purpose of gaining wisdom and moving on into further expansion. A wise practice to apply frequently. Interesting. Mr. West, thank you for your donation. Mr. West says, thank you for tonight's session, Brother Travis. My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm doing my part. Thank you for supporting the effort. Let me go back and highlight real quick to see something that's worth thinking about. Well, first of all, it's your right to know if this is guidance or trash. Ask and it shall be given unto you. The statement was not given to bring material things directly, but that you might receive knowledge to be experienced into wisdom. When understanding is given, you are expected to apply the laws and to live within them in ever-expanding application and further understanding. Nuru says, what you are is beyond words. Before and after what you are is beyond words. Before and after words and worlds are gone, your deathless consciousness will be there, preparing to render itself again, as you will. Before and after words, man. Before and after. That's why it's such a waste of time to get caught up on trivial shit. Let's get to the bottom of what we really mean. But there are some people who enjoy arguing, right? There are some people who enjoy nitpicking and getting caught up on the small things. And that's mainly because they have an inner dissonance that they're constantly seeking to express. You ever know somebody who was just ready to argue and fight about anything they could grasp onto? Like the conversation could have not even been about a certain thing, but they take it there, and it almost seems like they just want to fight. Well, that's a person who has inner dissonance, inner conflict inside themselves. It's not even about you, really. They literally have an inner dissonance, and they have a compulsive need to express that dissonance, that discord. They have an inner compulsion to express it at any opportunity they can get. And it won't end until they deliberately attempt to heal that. Honestly, though, those kind of people I don't have any time for, because you can't change them, right? They're stuck like that until they're ready to change. So what I found is, it's 100,000, 6 billion people on this planet. I don't need to waste my time with that kind of individual. Hell no. But some of us don't have the immediate option to break ties so easily. Especially when that person is related to you, or you have a child with them or something of that nature. Shit, man. But, life lessons, learning how to navigate and deal and balance that kind of energy when it comes at you. Because what kind of growth is simply running away from issues? Mr. West calls it buffoonery. Buffoonery indeed. It also ties into the victim mentality. Patchwork. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. Patchwork says, just had the realization that money is a symbolic representation of energy and influence. The more influence you have, the more you make. That's the basic foundation of building wealth. No idea who needed to hear this. See, Maestro says the buffoon spirit. The buffoon spirit. All right, y'all, we're getting extremely close to the end. Sheesh, there's only, let's see, 10 pages left, I want to say. I mean, I think it'd be kind of dumb to not just finish it. I planned on wrapping it up in 30 minutes, but I think we might as well just go to the end. Are you guys ready to complete this book? Are you all ready to drive this thing on home? I think we might be wrapping it up tonight. See, Master says my roommate has started shit and is left standing looking goofy when no one gives in. I mean, that's how you got to do it. That's how you got to do it. Because that's the thing. They want to rope you into the fight so that they can express that inner imbalance. That's all it is. They try to reel you in so that they can express that inner imbalance. But when you know better, when you don't have anything to prove, especially to them, the bait doesn't work. It can't work. Let's do it. Let's do it. Thank you, Anomali. Peace, peace. Let's do this thing. We in here. We are in here. All right. All right. I think I'm going to take one more break. to send some of this coffee back to its home planet, and then we're gonna push through. Go, number 40. Number 40. Cool beans. Peace and welcome. Thanks for sticking around, Jeffrey Quinonez. Looks like you might not be a bot, but a real person. In that case, welcome, welcome. Patchwork, thank you, my friend. Patrick says a lot of the time when people try to debate, it's just for ego validation. Most don't actually care to learn. They just want to be right. Exactly. And that's why it's not worth a second of my time. Once I detect that that's what's going on, it's time for me to go. There's nothing that either of us can gain here. Nothing that either of us can gain here. So I will gracefully bow out and do something more important with my time. I had that experience last week. But let's focus on creating the new paradigm and not on the problems that plague us, right? That's what the whole book's about. Let's focus on the things that are going to be of great benefit and not trying to fix the problems of the past. Hazard Pie says, I witnessed two people trying to out-victim each other the other day. It was kind of fascinating. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that too. Sheesh, that's a sad sight, boy. Two victim champions go at it, trying to say who had it the worst. Then they go to pulling out others' old stories from their repertoire. Secondhand cringe. All right, let's get to it. Number 40. Number 40. When the ending of the millennium does occur, it does not do this on the date of your calendar. The cycles are not required to follow your calendar of the seasons. The basis of the cycles is not from the Earth perspective, but from what you call the zodiac, as Earth passes from one influence of the 12 aspects of experience to the next. The starting place of each planet's trip through these experiences does not follow the conclusions drawn by astrologers, but is determined by the mathematical equation of the solar system as it synchronizes with the master equation of the galaxy. "15 guys." What were they? It may then be assumed that the true ending of the millennium cycle is unknown other than in a general sense, and it is close to your calculated time, give or take a few months. The cycles shift at higher levels as the heavenly bodies, observable in the night sky, which is nearly impossible because of artificial lighting, all moving in cycles, reach points for repetition to begin. This indicates ending and beginning within the conceptualization of finite thinking that is confined to the lower realms of dimensional experience. Each cycle may be thought of as a portion of a breathing process, allowing for a rest period, or at times spent at the 0 point of balance before the shift. The 0, the rest point, is the point at which each manifested creation partakes of an energy feeding process, or a gathering of new energy before it moves into the new cycle. It is this available energy that the devious ones plan to utilize, combining it with the separated soul energy they plan to gather. They perceive this will supply an additional over-unity boost to bring about their planned shift from positive to negative. They also perceive that the control they are exerting will be accepted as the balance necessary for the energy transfer to occur at the resting point of the cycle shift. Magicians assume that their tricks are accepted as real by observers caught up in the process. Unfortunately for them, they are the ones caught up in their own deception. The Creator and the creation do not observe the darkness of deception, for all thoughts and plans are known. Glaring reasons that humanity as it now experiences cannot in this moment exist in the higher dimensions are that thoughts and emotions are available to be read by all. All right, let's slow down, right? My cyclomancy students and those of you who are interested in psychic stuff, check this out. Let's read that again. Glaring reasons that humanity as it now experiences cannot in this moment exist in the higher dimensions are that thoughts and emotions are available to be read by all. Do you know how awful it would look if all of humanity suddenly ascended into the higher planes? But I think honestly, due to the law of balance, most people would eliminate themselves. Those self-destructive thoughts would cause most of these folks to eliminate themselves. But just think, you think the world is strange now? Man. One of the first things you learn when your psychic ability does turn on is that you don't want to be hearing what's going through these folks' heads. Deception is impossible because intentions are fully known. This brings personal responsibility as the basis for higher dimensional experience into the light of logical understanding. Individuals sharing the same dimensional experience screen out harmonious thought to allow balanced group experience. Focused thoughts are known, and then what you call mental telepathy eliminates the need to slow the vibratory rate to vocalize thoughts, since all at this level are consciously aware that their shared intention is participating in their return trip to the source of their own creation. The transition is not fraught with difficulty. Are there deviations? Of course, but normally these are worked through in a supportive environment. It is rare that an individual must be returned to a lower dimension. As you begin to understand a larger picture of this point in the history of your planet and the segment of humanity that now resides on it, you can pinpoint your own experience within the scenario. If indeed you are a volunteer who has placed itself in a lower dimensional experience in order to assist the individuals trapped there, then it hardly seems fair that you must be bound by the confines of that dimension. Yes. Unfortunately, that is how it works. However, it was understood when you volunteered to do this. Wait a minute, let me go back. As you begin to understand a larger picture of this point in the history of your planet and the segment of humanity that now resides on it, you can pinpoint your own experience within the scenario. If indeed you are a volunteer who who has placed itself in a lower dimensional experience in order to assist the individuals trapped there, then it hardly seems fair that you must be bound by the confines of that dimension. Unfortunately, that is how it works. However, it was understood when you volunteered to do this, there would be a point that you would be fully reminded who and what you are and of the agreement you made. In other words, you were promised a wake-up call. This is your wake-up call. Oh boy. All right, higher being. You must incarnate down into the lower dimensions. You do know that it won't be easy to come out of it. Yes, I'm fully aware of that. All right. But we will give you a wake-up call, and that should certainly help you so that you won't be completely stuck. I'm cool with that. Let's go. That's what we said. That's what we said. Thank you, Patchwork. Patrick says, I've had a small taste of telepathy once when working with Shazu, one of the 15 names of Marduk. And believe me, people think about some nasty stuff. Right. I think my first intentional case of telepathy was also with Shazu from the Necronomicon. And that's one of the first lessons I learned from working with a spirit that enables telepathic ability. That was the first thing I learned. Sunshine Chick. Got him. These nuts. Curve said, we said, all right, bet, let's go. Man, what kind of stuff were we on to say, all right, bet, let's go? I tell you what, that's some real love and light right there. This is your wake-up call. Number 41. Interesting, right? Because a wake-up call, I believe that phrase originates from when you go to a hotel and you ask the front desk to call you at a certain time to wake you up, right? Which makes me think about the Hotel Earth story, where you were a traveler of consciousness and you decide to take a quick stop on planet Earth at Hotel Earth, but you fall in love with the people there and they gradually help you to forget your mission and you become a citizen of Earth. And then along comes another traveler from the same place that you were coming from, going to where you're going, and everyone's telling you to stay away from him. Y'all remember that story? That was a good story. Comes from a book called The Paths of Poverty and Nivrity. If you never read it, you should definitely get it. Luxury Newman, peace. Thank you for your donation. Here's the book that I just mentioned, The Paths of Poverty and Nivrity. Get that book. Or if you're not going to get that book, and if you're going to get the book, you can see that we did a book study for this on YouTube. Grab it. But yeah, I just bring that up because, you know, wake up call at a hotel and how he says this is your wake up call. Rack bar. La la, rack bar. Allah. Oh. Thank you, Luxury Newman. Psychic Vampire Codex. Oh yeah. That's a classic right there. Another one that has helped me with development of these psychic abilities for sure. Number 41. Now that this information has begun to be absorbed into your consciousness and the subconscious levels of your awareness is rearranging to allow an attitude adjustment, a new focus is developing. The world you observe is changing before your eyes. There are 3 levels of awareness developing: the facade as presented to you, the activities of the magicians, and the refocusing of the mass consciousness of the planet's inhabitants. The first 2 layers of simultaneous awareness were present within your psyche, but were blurry and distorted. Examining them with some detail has allowed clarity and understanding. Adding the third brings forth a realization that you are indeed standing on the first rock of the project's planned diversion. Now it is decision time. Do you participate and continue in sharing a clear picture of the movie in progress all around you? Do you feel lucky, punk? Do you? Do you participate and continue in sharing a clear picture of the movie in progress all around you? This is a scenario rather than a scene. It is in motion all around you, with all 3 activities interacting on the same stage, all within depth, width, and height. It goes without saying that the project is the least focused of the activities as yet. That is your job. The basic job description is present within these messages. The framework is there. It is your personal responsibility to flesh out the job. Remember, we talked about this fleshing out process, right? This is a hologram. So you allow your focus to fill in what is seen in your imagination, what is heard in your imagination, what is smelt, what is tasted, what is felt with the body. You flesh all that out. You put yourself there. You live in it. You focus on that frequency, on that vibration, and you allow that, right? You have emotions about it, and you allow all that to manifest into your external reality. Do y'all remember that part? Tap that little heart thing if you remember that, because that's excruciatingly important. All right. The framework is there. It is your personal responsibility to flesh out the job. The free will aspect is the ball in your court. Whether you pick it up or walk away is your choice. Our part to play within this drama, tragedy, or love story, your choice, is to act as the producer of this production. The writing, directing, and acting are your contributions. The producer provides the financing and the decision as to whether the proposed script is something the backers, the investors, will approve. If scriptwriters do not bring a proposed scenario to the producers, the producer may decide a certain theme would be saleable and solicit writers to contribute outlines. Since there have been no new paradigm novels, the theater owner has instructed this producer to solicit new paradigm outlines, beginning with the statement of purpose, setting the theme. This is your invitation to participate. Since this is a Cecil B. DeMille type production, collaboration is recommended. Analogies used are not meant to make light of the situation, but to instill understanding at the subconscious levels of your awareness. Right? This is how we do it. It's Friday night, and I feel alright. Party's here on the west side. The analogies used are not meant to make light of the situation, but to instill understanding at the subconscious levels of your awareness. It's the freaking weekend, baby. I'm about to have me some fun. Pictures are easily assimilated in clarity. Words are filtered through a myriad of individual past experiences, attitudes, opinions, and all the programming each of you carries through the deliberate indoctrination you have received. Movies and television have been their tools of deception. However, the pictures that are brought forth by the imagination are far more powerful. For example, in your not too distant past, there was storytelling of myths and legends that invoked the imagination. The current cartoons for children and movies have been provided to repress the inner imagination and stifle the creative instinct. Pictures program the subconscious. Pictures focused with the intent of reprogramming the subconscious accomplish this quickly. Purposeful intent supported by resolve is focus. The planet and humanity continue to cry out for an end to this scenario, but only humanity can bring the end through the creation of a new plot, a new script, and a new play. Free will allows humanity the choice to continue the present movie or simply have the stage revolve to the next production. I just realized that this isn't even really a book you can recommend. Like, who do you know could benefit from this book? A lot of people. But who do you know would actually sit through and finish this book? I'm telling you, this is specifically meant for this group of people listening and very few others. The reason I say that thought came to mind is because, like, everybody participates in sharing the conspiracies and the drama and the trouble, and everyone participates in that, right? Everybody's got these theories about what the secret societies are doing and what the evil plans are. Everybody does that. But hardly anybody, damn near nobody, has come up with the concept of creating a new reality and sticking with that, focusing on that, right? At best, people say, well, how we can fix the problem, right? Oh, well, we need to fight back, we need to do this and stop eating fast food, and we need to boycott Gucci or whatever. They talk about fixing the problem, but nobody talks about a new paradigm. I'm telling you, this book is for a specific small group of folks. Purposeful intent supported by resolve is focus. The planet and humanity continue to cry out for an end to this scenario, but only humanity can bring the end through the creation of a new plot, a new script, and a new play. Free will allows humanity the choice to continue the present movie or simply have the stage revolve to the next production. However, there must be a new scene on that stage so that audience participation can be invited to create this play of plays for the planet as a whole. King Zeno, I appreciate you. Thank you for your donation. What more can be done is now out of our hands. The wake-up calling is up to each of you as this message comes into your experience. Who is it that you know in your heart would resonate with the challenge focused through it? Will you dedicate yourself to this critical cause? Will you read and study the information with the intention of allowing this message to fill the void that resonates within you because of the deceptions of the dark magicians? When you think or speak the small prayer, I am a human becoming, help me to become, ask for guidance through your feelings that you may know. You are calling forth the vibratory connection to your source, the cause of your life experience here and now. Lines of communication open, and seeming miracles begin to happen through coincidence and synchronicities. Most of all, a calm and peaceful attitude becomes prevalent in your experience. Your countenance changes, and you know who you are, why you are here, and what it is to be done in each moment. You have a purpose, a mission, and there is hope for this planet after all. Zaire Anu, peace, peace. Sunshine Chick says, how do you discern the author's usage of the term free will when there is no free will? The way that I discern it is that for the general public, for the masses of asses, there is no free will because of the actions, thoughts, and behaviors being entirely influenced by previous traumas and parasites in the gut and media that's being consumed, right? There's no help, especially if one's not even aware of those influences. But I would like to think that this particular group of individuals who are somewhat aware of these influences, if not very aware of these influences, who make a concentrated effort to attempt to move differently, I think that's a big start of fleshing out what real, true free will is, right? I'm drawing a distinction here. Most people aren't aware that they're being influenced, nor do they care. But for someone who is consistently aware of their influence, that starts to change the scenario, right? Because now you do have a choice to follow along with your influence or to do something different. Even if that's just the inkling of free will, that's still more free will than most. So I think to even consider what's being written in this book and to see that you have a choice between continuing to indulge in the world drama or to at least try to do something new, I think that is a very powerful usage of this inkling of free will. Number 42. Is this the last? Maybe not. Maybe there's one more after this. Let's see. About 5 more pages. Number 42. In the times that come, those of you who make the choice to become part of the holistic transformation of this planet and its inhabitants will lead the way through the transformation of yourselves. Sunshine Chick says cosmic will comes into play for the initiated. Yes. Because even a little bit does a whole lot. You know, the one-eyed man is king in the land of the blind. Mankind is inspired by example, not by words, written or spoken. Will you each be as famous as Mother Teresa? No, indeed. Your example will be one of living the life of purposeful focus. Each day, your intent is to be a human becoming, for the purpose of mankind becoming, and the planet becoming. This commitment in unison will bring forth an aura of magnetism that will reflect in all aspects of your experience. Will it make you a millionaire? Probably not. Because your focus is to participate in the larger creative flow into an experience that will have parameters that are yet unknown. The basic concept on which all higher dimensions are based, is in the understanding that the pivot point to upliftment into evolving consciousness is the unified focus of returning to the level of the Creator. The understanding that the pivot point to upliftment into a evolving consciousness is the unified focus of returning to the level of the Creator. The one-upmanship of accumulating and maintaining material wealth is a moot point. During the period of chaos facilitating the transition, those with intent to assist in the birthing of the new paradigm, rather than the maintenance of values to be transcended, will be assisted in having available what is needed to superintend facets of organizations that are necessary. These will not be in the focus of leadership, but of settling the ideal or archetype of cooperation. Once before, a question was asked for your contemplation. You were asked if you could conceptualize a system in which there were no levels of leadership of hierarchy because they were unnecessary. Unity of focus based on personal responsibility to fulfill the harmonious shared goal of becoming through individual experience sets up a cooperative environment. Cooperation replaces competition, and fear is no longer present. The accumulation of wealth is motivated by the desire for protection, which is based in fear of what the future may hold and fed by the empowered ego through competition. He who dies with the most toys wins is an apt illustration of this imbalance. It is easier for a loaded camel to go through the eye of the needle, a cultural reference to the small people gate into a town or a house compound, than for a rich man to enter heaven, a state of contentment. This is true not because of the material things that are accumulated, but because of the basic attitudes that motivate him or her. Retirement funds are necessary because these same attitudes and beliefs bring on disease and degeneration of the body, illustrating the basic lack of trust in the Creator's flow that birthed you into this life experience. In a nutshell, the moment you're born, you were taught to beginning swimming upstream against the flow of creative expansion. It is now time that you climb out on a rock, take a good look around, and then begin swimming within the expansive flow. It is so much easier and enjoyable. Swimming with the flow allows the focus of becoming to be thought acting within and upon itself. The resulting harmonious experience is that of being wholly supported in that quest. To accomplish this within an environment of humanity swimming in the opposite direction is impossible unless it is accomplished within a cooperating group that is literally out of that flow. Patrick says it's hard for the rich man because of attachment. I get it now. Yeah, and see, a lot of people erroneously use that Bible verse to condemn wealthy people or being rich. And Amalia says swimming with the flow talk reminds me of the walking the way in Taoism. Pulling one's self out of that flow up onto the rock, carefully perceiving the situation. And for those of you who know mystical Kabbalah, this is Chesed talk, right? The chapter on Chesed, where she talked about surveying the land before building a village. Pulling one's self out of that flow up onto the rock, carefully perceiving the situation, and making the decision to enter the greater flow of the galaxy that is moving within creative expansiveness brings you to a level out of that struggling mass. Once the initial group begins this action by free will choice, many will join by increasing numbers, and a new flow is formed, joining the galactic flow. As those of the masses literally wearing themselves out by spending their creative energy within the struggle, Observe your life moving smoothly and easily along within that flow. Your mission of reversing the flow will be well underway. The struggle. Nuru says getting free from influence and fear to act or not act truly freely is why we meditate and practice. Yes. Let me read that again. There's something important here. I'm going to read that whole paragraph again. Swimming with the flow allows the focus of becoming to be thought acting within and upon itself. The resulting harmonious experience is that of being wholly supported in that quest. To accomplish this within an environment of humanity swimming in the opposite direction is impossible unless it is accomplished within a cooperating group that is literally out of that flow. Pulling one's self out of that flow up onto the rock, carefully perceiving the situation and making the decision to enter the greater flow of the galaxy that is moving within creative expansiveness brings you to a level out of that struggling mass. Once the initial group begins this action by free will choice, many will join by increasing numbers, and a new flow is formed, joining the galactic flow. As those of the masses, literally wearing themselves out by spending their creative energy within the struggle, observe your life moving smoothly and easily along within that flow. Your mission of reversing the flow will be well underway. Did you get that? So you can see that humanity is going in a certain direction that is designed to wear them out and to stress them out and to go against the natural flow of life, the natural etheric pattern of the planet and evolution. Because the masses of asses are going against the natural flow of existence, because of that, we're weakened by default. So what he's saying is, it's going to take a deliberate choice to come out of that flow and to stand in a point of stillness, right? To go into a point of stillness and observe what's happening and choose to operate within a different pattern, right? To rise above the human rat race, as we call it, and to align yourself with an even greater flow, a cosmic flow, a universal flow, one that is perceptible, but only if you stop and pay attention. And once you do that, you'll find that your life now, instead of being full of anxiety, instead of attracting unhealthy, unhealed people, mentally imbalanced, emotionally imbalanced, instead of attracting imbalanced situations, your new alignment will now begin to attract harmony, cooperative people, cooperative situations for growth. You'll begin to attract that. And there are people who are done with living a fucked up life and being beat upside the head every day. There are people who are done with that. And perhaps you living in a better lifestyle will attract them to start to do a little bit of research, or maybe even ask you, hey, what are you doing differently? And instead of dumping this book on them or mystical Kabbalah, maybe you can break down something very simple for them to do, which could be just enough to get them out of the rat race. He says that in that mode, right, you observe your life moving smoothly and easily along within that flow. Your mission of reversing the flow will be well underway. It's contagious, right? A lot of people are depressed, they're defeated, broke, busted, and disgusted, right? That number's increasing. A lot of people are tired of it. And most people, I would assume, just want something new. So again, instead of dumping all this on them, maybe there's a way that you can give them something very simple and relatable to the lifestyle that they live. Listen, you don't have to give people mystical Kabbalah, taught with Shudi, the Magikian. You don't have to give people any of that stuff unless they ask for it specifically. Hey, what spiritual magical book can I read to increase my, right? But if it's just, yeah, man, I just want to do something different. I'm tired of this lifestyle. I wish, you're into some spiritual stuff. Like, what is there a prayer? What candle can I use? Give them something basic. But anyways, that's a good paragraph right there. Your return ticket receives its first punch when you pull yourself out and stand on the rock and observe the situation from the level of accepting the situation as reality within the third dimensional realm of planet Earth, right? And I've successfully done that at the start of my YouTube channel. There are many of you who have done this process of stepping out of that flow, standing on a rock and aligning self with galactic flow. Many of you have done that. Some of you are in the process of doing that now. And then there's a lot of people who wish that they could, and you can. Do what he said here in this book. Stay focused on it. What does it look like to you? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? Framestar Films says tipping point through repetition of right thought and action. Hazard Pie says the calm at the center of the storm. MC Maestro says I used to dump the whole Pleiadian spill on niggas when they asked. Now I'll just put a nigga on the Bible. And you know, it might be better that way. It might be better that way. Don't give them something they ain't asked for. Mr. West says, honestly, ever since I began studying the occult science and spirituality practices, I felt a lot of changes and become more to acknowledging my shortcomings. That's the growth process, my friend. Hakeem Lamidi says, still goes back to the trust you spoke about during your tarot reading. Absolutely. Curve says, aim for freedom, not material attachment. Facts, facts. All right, y'all. As you can see, we're getting to the end. The next punch in your ticket is received when you make your choice or commitment, bring forth a new paradigm of experience. The next is received when you begin the move within your consciousness and change your life expression through thought and action in harmony with your commitment to bring forth this new paradigm of experience with the inhabitants and the planet. You, the purpose of your incarnation at the fully conscious level, and the empty wandering will cease. You then will live in fulfillment of your purpose. To choose otherwise is tearing up your ticket. Can you get a new one? Later, maybe, but you will have missed your intended purpose and your intended opportunity. Reread, contemplate, pray, and decide. Free will is your privilege and your responsibility. Use it in wisdom. By the way, when it comes to rereading this, there is actually an audiobook where the author reads this whole book straight through. I think it's like 6 hours. Maybe that could be something you can listen to while you're sleeping or cleaning up the house. Just a side note. Put some respect on my name. Dear messengers, now that the handbook is complete, it is time that we turn the intention of this flow of information towards the next phase to follow. As the momentum begins to grow, not so much at the actual manifestation level as within the intentions to participate, the idea dawns that a crisis point exists. A crisis on infinite Earths, perhaps. Our pebble in the pond of the mass consciousness that no doubt seems ever so tiny to you is indeed powerful. The shift in perception is the most important beginning point possible. This bypasses the negative emotions of anger and the desire to retaliate. Your Bible states, "Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord." This is a total untruth, but does contain the advice to leave the law of attraction to its natural action. Your misunderstood karmic law as quoted when there is the desire for someone to get their just due, is indeed a distorted reference to the law of attraction. How come whenever someone wants to talk about karma, it's always something about retaliation, right? Karma's real and it's coming for you. In any case, when quoting it in judgment, it applies in that instance also. Thou shalt not judge, lest you be judged. The law of allowance would be wisely used instead as in, I am a human becoming. Help me to become. It's probably the last time we're going to see that. I am a human becoming. Help me to become. Or, they are humans becoming. Help them to become. Wow. Immediately after. Or, he or she is a human becoming. Help him or her to become. I like that. Indeed, this prayer for others is sharing the gift of grace and is allowance indeed. This introduces the next level in the shift in human consciousness beyond self to include others through allowance, thereby transcending the need to control. Do you have the strength to do that? When somebody pisses you off or something like that, instead of mumbling under your breath about how low they are? 1111, thank you, Monica Lowan. I knew somebody cared. Instead of talking shit about that person under your breath, what if instead you stated, they are humans becoming, help them to become. He or she is a human becoming, help him or her to become. Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. What if you said that instead? MC Maestro says, I am that which is becoming, is the new, more accurate translation of I am that I am, Kether. Patchwork says, that's been heavy on my mind lately, learning to not cast judgment on people or situations. Right. Hey, think about that though. Maybe try that the next time somebody tests your patience or pisses you off or does something you don't like. Instead of talking shit about them under your breath, perhaps ask for grace for them. Just see what that does to your psyche. See, it's not about the other person. People are like, oh, well, fuck all that. You don't understand my situation. No, it's about you and how you react and your vibration. Just try it. It is important when working within the focus intended to be inclusive of the mass consciousness of the entire planet. What? Yeah. To forego the desire to quote rules and regulations. These do not sell well, especially with the diversity of understandings within the consciousness of 9 billion beings. Back to the basic of basics in simplistic language that is easily translatable with as little distortion as possible is most logical. KISS, keep it simple stupid, is indeed the rule. Acronyms are interesting shortcuts to recognition. Perhaps we could invent AIAB for attraction, intention, allowance, and balance. Those are the 4 laws, by the way. Attraction, intention, allowance, balance. Or FSTF for the first, second, third, and fourth. In order to cross language, cultural, and religious barriers, simplistic applications must teach the basic laws without formalities. They must be practically applicable in all life situations and bring forth the desired shift in perspective that translates into changes of attitude and consciousness. It is possible to do this with a few simple words that include AIAB, attraction, intention, allowance, and balance. This seems paradoxical in a world of overwhelming numbers of communications, literally moving faster than the speed of light. Of course, overwhelming is the key. The paradox includes the haves who long for greater simplicity and the have-nots who long for greater complexity. The inner void remains at all points on the scale of human experience on this planet, except for those who are now aware of the creation of the new paradigm. Nuru says, encourage new seekers to just get comfortable being still and silent and not fidgeting for 5 minutes at a time. You're coaching non-reaction, reflection. That's a good point. Instead of giving people the Pleiadian story or Tatwashudi or the Magikian, tell them that they should focus on mastering being still for 5 minutes. That would make more sense. Newer says just showing someone to take a pause, take a breath, and not react is a step into a new world. Facts indeed. It is the first instinct when encountering these messages for individuals to want to rush to the mission before study and contemplation bring forth the necessary, fundamental, basic changes in consciousness that allow for synchronistic encounters with people and information to bring into their awareness what their part is. Sheesh, I would say that even applies to the magical journey as a whole. Everyone wants to open their third eye and spark up their kundalini, but don't even know what the fundamentals of the practice are. It is the first instinct when encountering these messages for individuals to want to rush to the mission before study and contemplation bring forth the necessary fundamental basic changes in consciousness that allow for synchronistic encounters with people and information to bring into their awareness what their part is. For multitudes, the change in perspective and attitude through the use of the simple prayer is all that is required. This will reap the miracles of a richer life experience in the midst of chaos through their focus on the intent within the wave of new consciousness. Spreading the message, the word, and applying the basics in their daily lives is the most important mission of all. If applying these is not done at the foundational levels of human experience, then all the messages are to no avail whatever. These are the ripples. What good are pebbles in the pond? What good are pebbles if the pond remains static? The victim consciousness must be transcended so that humanity can take back its power. When you share the gift of this information, you must be able to supply feedback to those who receive these messages and reply in a reactive mode. The pent-up desire for change is released, and direction needs to be given to those who rush to you for guidance. Personal responsibility is another way of saying, take your power and use it with intentional focus to bring balance. The balanced state of experience is necessary to be a functioning part of the ground team. Rereading, studying, contemplating, and applying what is within the messages through personal experience will prove the validity of the information and bring forth balance within chaos. The ground team has space for those who are awake, aware, committed, focused, and balanced. This brings forth the ability to act rather than react. If it is not yet time for individuals to act, then encourage them to continue to study, share the message, and be within the rippling effect while they wait patiently. This is the space you must occupy to be functional and ready. It is putting oil in your lamp so that it may be lit in the moment of opportunity. So, become this consciousness. Matthew Watson says that's a fire Bible reference, can't lie. I see what you did there. Good. I'm glad somebody caught that. Well, there you have it. There you have it. We have gone through the messages contained in this here handbook, the handbook for the new paradigm. We have completed the reading of this text. Now, this may be where we part ways for some people. This may be the beginning of a relationship with some people, and this may be a continuing process with a lot of you. But either way, you should be proud of yourself, because you are here by choice, not by force. You have what it takes to do the right thing. You, not somebody else. Even if you feel like you don't understand, you understand enough. You understand enough. For sure. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be super talented. What you have is perfect. What you have is perfect. Proteus, seer of eons. Peace and greetings. Proteus says, checking in. I love all of you at a much deeper level than you may believe. Grateful to be a part of these teachings. Thank you, Travis, for this community, doing this powerful shift in humanity. I didn't know that it would come to this, but I kind of had a feeling it would. I'm just happy to be in position. I had oil in my candle holder. Sunshine Chick says, I made it through a whole session of a book read. Yeah, I noticed I've been seeing you pop in much more consistently throughout than usual. Congrats to you. Good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. All right, so that's that. You got a lot to think about, a lot to do. So, yeah. As far as this is concerned, this message is complete. We will continue with this. Oh yeah. All right, so is there anything else? Anything else that, anything anyone has on their mind that they'd like to share? Thoughts? I like that. WT says, people or bots keep saying, Jesus, Jesus, but Jesus would be doing exactly this. Right, right. That's why in the Bible, Jesus himself says, you are of those who will come to me and say, Lord, Lord, we knew you, please save us. And I will say, I don't know y'all. Or in the words of young Dro, I don't know y'all, I don't fuck with y'all, cause I'm a big dog. I don't know y'all, I don't fuck with y'all, yeah, cause I'm a big dog. If you're from the South, if you're from Atlanta, you've heard that before. I don't know y'all, I don't fuck with y'all, yeah, cause I'm a big dog. That's what Jesus is saying to all these Christians who pop up in this stream and try to tell me. But in any case, the work is done. And even if you think you don't understand, as long as you have gone through this book, you know the message is percolating. You know it's percolating, so let it percolate. Let it percolate. Hopefully, if you've got a physical copy of this book, you highlighted certain key points, like I was, which means that you can go back at any time, open up the book, and get a little piece of wisdom or a little gem that would maybe apply to the current situation you're going through. You notice I highlight whenever I see something interesting. Well, why do you think I do that? Because I will most definitely crack this thing open and take a look. It is in the service to and total trust in the way through this situation. There is not a way out. There's only the way through. Can't avoid it. Got to do it. All right. Nuru says, I am the highlight. Magi. I am a human becoming. Help me to become. Peace, Jonesy. Jonesy is a real person. Jonesy says, I got this book 22 years ago. Geez, how did you find this live stream, Jonesy? I'm curious. Because I didn't even put the title in the video. So how did you come across this? Damn, son. Where'd you find this? Jonesy says randomly popped up. Look at that, man. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Look at that pattern. Look at that number. Jonesy says, first heard about the book on Coast to Coast AM. Ah, yeah, I forgot about that. So yeah, for those of you who might want to do some other looking into this, the author of this book did an interview with Coast to Coast. So this might actually be more widespread and popular than you believe. MC Marshall says, this book was the Captain Marvel watch. I don't get it. But I mean, I haven't seen Captain Marvel, so I don't know. Good stuff, good stuff. All right, well, that about sums it up. Tomorrow night, I'll be live, same time, same place. We're gonna be going through the Cosmic Doctrine, written by Dion Fortune. We're gonna keep this up. I want you all to continue using your concentrated powers to help channel towards me a book to read next that will be of deeply stimulating nature, right? I have some ideas, but I'm really liking where we're headed. We're getting into the deep stuff for real, right? Not just some surface level. Like, we're getting to the deep stuff for real. So let's channel some more absolute heat from the depths of the center of the galaxy. Because I'm ready to withstand it, and I think you are too. I think I have an idea of the next book to read. It kind of links together some quantum physics type stuff with spirituality. I think that would be a really good direction to go next. We'll see about that. All right, so yeah, that's that. I appreciate you all. I thank you so much for being here. We're going to be doing the Cosmic Doctrine tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're somebody who wants to be a part of my next class, the Psychic Magus, or something of that nature, we're going to be going through cyclomancy. We're going to be going through shadow work. We're going to be going through quite a few very useful and appropriate exercises to strengthen your ability to tap into yourself. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Next week, I'll be releasing more details on that. Framestar Film says the cover art informs us in a symbolic way that the book is a tool for navigation. Ah. Do you have your passport? Did you get your shots? Girl, would you like to come back with Rob to America? Thank you, Patchwork. Patchwork says, oh, I have a recommendation for a book, The Philosopher's Stone by Israel Regardie. Do I have that one? The Philosopher's Stone. I'll have to check and see if I have that one. The Philosopher's Stone. No, I think I got the one you wrote about talismans. I don't think I have the Philosopher's Stone. I'll check that out. We were gonna do a Regardie book. I believe the Garden of Pomegranates. Something else came up. Or shit, we might go back to the Vedic stuff, honestly. I've been reading a lot of the Bihar school information again. Might even touch back on Samkhya Darshan, because that book is still very heavy. Would definitely be worth a reread. Do you have your passport? Did you get your shots? Girl, would you like to come back with Rob to America? To America! Jay Baldhill says The Ascent. Man, we will never get finished with it. You know how long that book is? One of them books might take 6 months. But we could probably do the beginning part of it. America! MC Marshall says, damn, I think I downloaded the Philosopher's Stone at 12:13. Didn't understand shit. We'll see, we'll see. I will open myself to the spirits and let them lead the way as usual. Hell, it's been working out just fine. We'll see. They'll probably drop something in my life last minute, since that's how I like to operate. Love and be peace, and thank you for being here. All right, everybody. You know what to do. Go forth and be fruitful. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Remember to focus on the vision. Focus on creating the new paradigm. Look at what he said in this book and that last chapter. To get out of the flow of suffering and misery and anxiety, to rise above that and align yourself with a higher flow, going in the direction of creation. Remember that you're focused, like this is a hologram. Your experience is a hologram. Your mind is a hologram. And just like a hologram uses a laser beam to focus on a specific image to make a little 3D pattern, Use your focus on your vision and flesh it out. See it clearly, hear it clearly, smell it clearly, taste it clearly, feel it clearly. You got this. All right, so I'm officially leaving for real this time. I hope that y'all have a great night. Continue to percolate that subconscious, or we can say clap that booty meat, as Maestro said, or Sexy Red, or whoever. We are evolving. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. I love you all. Peace.